St. Francis de Sales once said, you can only give God what you have. You can only give God what you have. Sometimes we're thinking into the future, what it is we can do for him, or if we had this, we could do that, or all that kind of stuff. But in the end, what you have is what you can give. That's not a deep truth, but a lot of people don't start with it, I guess I would say. And so as we kind of reflect on this story of the 12, and, as I was saying to the young people, right, they were sent out, and now they're coming back. We've got an example of something I talk a lot when I preach about, the both and. Both out and back. What goes up must come down. Or in the case of Jesus, what came down had to go back up, right, in terms of the ascension. The reality is, though, I want to start with a scientific truth, because I just love when we see stuff that's true, as I often say, true is true, it just shows up all over the place. So whether or not someone watching this online or sitting here today says, I don't believe any of this, that's okay. This is the cool thing about truth. It doesn't need you to believe in it for it to be true. It's just how it works. You can't stand on the top of the Empire State Building and say, I don't believe in gravity. I mean, you can, but there will be consequences for your belief system. I'm going to eat 20,000 calories a day. You can. There will be consequences for that belief system. The one I want to share with you has to do with the Dead Sea. It's mentioned in the Bible, right? It's never called that, by the way. That's a more modern name for it, right? The Dead Sea. And the reality about it is, it's the drain of the earth. If you did not know that, it's the drain of the earth. At its surface, or the shore, if you want, at its surface, it's 1,400 feet below sea level. If you were standing at our pond and you could slice them side by side, you'd be looking down about a half mile. Just to give you a context of what kind of drain we're talking about. That literally the whole planet drains to the Dead Sea. So why is it dead? Well, because it's 10 times saltier than the ocean. Some people were on the recent trip to Israel, and if you had a chance to go and get into it, at that level of salinity, it's viscous like oil. And when I was studying there, I had a good friend say, my one regret is I didn't get into the Dead Sea. So I get into the Dead Sea. And float right on top of it, right? Perfectly clear. You can see right to the bottom because there's nothing to obstruct your view. There's no algae, there's no fish, there's no plants. You see straight to the bottom. And one of the things on the shore, the sign, of course, says no kicking or splashing for obvious reasons. Because if you consumed as much as 8 ounces of that, if you don't go to the hospital, you may indeed die from it because it's so dead. Okay, you get the point? Why is it dead? Well, because of the salinity, but because this is the deeper truth. It only takes in, it never gives out. It only takes in, it never gives away. And that, brothers and sisters, is a deep truth of the universe. You can't do it. If you and I just ate and ate and ate and ate and never took out, we'd die. We'd explode. Nobody was designed to do it. And so when we get to the story of the apostles, so they went out and they come back. But the deeper insight, I think, is around that word. Apostello is the verb, not Abbott and Costello. Apostello. So young people don't even know who that is. What a shame. Look it up. Who's on first? Okay, anyways. What was it? Apostello, thank you. Apostolos, where we get the name. But for Mark, he doesn't care about the office of apostle, capital A. This is literally the only time he uses that word. He used a form of it in chapter 3, but he used it to say that the 12, the apostles were sent out. So he uses both forms of the word. He's not interested in the office. He's interested in the action. And so then it becomes about what we do. Well, what's the corresponding office, if you want? Small a. If you and I are apostolos, what else are we? I'm a teacher. I'll wait all day. Disciples. Yes, you're disciples too. And you have to go to the Latin to get that root word, discipulus, student in Greek, mathetes. That's where we get our word math. But it's where we get our word math, mathetes, the learners. And we have to have both. We have to be people who are learning and people who are sent out. Because if it's just apostle with no disciple, you're going to get burned out. If you're just out there doing it all the time and you never come back in, you're going to burn out. But if you're just a disciple without the apostolos, if you're not being sent out, well, that's stagnation. And you'll become really smart, but you won't have any idea what to do with any of it. We weren't designed to do either. We were designed to do both. And so as he sent them out very vulnerably, as they come back in, he says, come away, get away from the crowd for a second. How important that is too, amen? Francis de Sales once spoke of unstringing the bow. Take the tension off. We need that. In some ways, that's what we do when we come together for liturgy. You may not feel that in the space for any number of reasons, but in reality, we're coming away from the world to come together and tell our story. What if, as I said to the little ones, we started Mass by everyone standing up and saying, what have you done and taught for Jesus this week? I don't know what that would look like, except to say it should be something in our thought process. What am I learning about Jesus? What am I sharing about him? What am I doing out there in word and in deed, the both and, over and over? Fully God, fully man. The incidence of bread and wine turned into the reality of his body and blood. So that when we leave here, as I often say, we're leaving different than we came in. At the molecular level, you and I will not be the same when we leave here as when we came in. Because his presence will enter into us, and we will become a little bit more like him. And hopefully we'll be a little bit more courageous to be sent out and to be learning more and more about him. To have the love and the faith and the hope that comes with that, to be patient in our experience, to be patient with each other. That's the challenge that lies here. It's a beautiful story. Without getting into all the shepherd stuff, that's a whole nother. They're actually separate stories in the Bible, and I'm not sure why we put them together, but here we have them. But I just wanted to focus today for you on the dual office that you have, is to be sent out, but to always also be a learner. May God be praised.